You got the clickbait, huh? Alright. Alright, I guess anything else? I get sued all the time. Y'all, stop it.
New drama tonight involving a controversial politician in the south suburbs. Tiffany Henyard was the only Thornton Township leader to...
We've all witnessed political drama unfold, but what happened with Mayor Tiffany Henyard takes things to a whole new level. Picture this: the mayor getting arrested in the middle of a meeting after causing complete chaos, with authorities physically dragging her out. That's exactly what went down at the latest Dolton Village Board meeting. What started as just another routine gathering quickly turned into a scene so wild it could rival the most intense TV dramas. And this wasn't scripted. This was happening. Live in Dolton, Illinois. Yes, you read that right. The situation got so out of control that the live broadcast was abruptly cut off midstream. What followed was complete pandemonium, leaving both viewers and attendees in stunned silence. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, a figure who's no stranger to controversy, has had a tense relationship with the village trustees for months. If you've been following the local news, you're aware that the ongoing friction has been fueled by everything from decisions and appointments to policy disagreements. But this meeting? It took a shocking turn no one saw coming. The drama erupted over some questionable spending by the mayor, sending shockwaves through the community. Eyewitnesses said the tension in the room was so thick you could feel it in the air. It was like everyone there knew something major was about to go down. To accommodate the large crowds that had been showing up, the meeting was moved to the local park district building. What had started as a routine gathering turned into an event that people couldn't afford to miss. Village Hall simply couldn't hold the overwhelming number of citizens, some there out of genuine concern for the town's future, others seemingly drawn in by the ongoing political drama surrounding the mayor. From the start, it was clear that Mayor Henyard wasn't interested in following the usual meeting protocol. She tossed the rulebook aside and put on a show for the crowd, with a level of defiance and flair that could have been straight out of a reality TV show. The stage was set, and Dolton's political saga was in full swing. Tensions between the mayor and trustees were nearing a breaking point. At this meeting, it seemed Henyard was more focused on performing for the crowd than addressing any real issues. It was obvious she had no intention of following the usual norms of governance. The big question on everyone's mind: was this a calculated power move, or just another example of her refusal to follow the rules of leadership? Either way, the spectacle left many residents questioning whether her leadership could last, especially with the growing challenges the town faced. Once a quiet community, Dolton was now better known for its political drama than its ability to solve real problems. Henyard's controversial leadership only made matters worse, and the public was left wondering whether the town could ever recover. While the mayor seemed to thrive in the chaos, what was once a typical village meeting had now become a symbol of Dolton's dysfunction. With her erratic behavior pushing the town deeper into crisis, the central concern became whether the mayor could still lead effectively. As her actions grew more unpredictable, residents began to question her priorities and whether the spectacle had overshadowed her ability to govern. It was becoming more and more apparent that the political drama in Dolton wasn't going anywhere. With each passing meeting, the mayor's grip on power seemed weaker, and the town's future appeared uncertain.
Invoices lead to more questions, and sometimes we don't get answers to those questions. And so it's not about clickbait, it's about just
Instead of attending the scheduled meeting with the trustees at the Park District building, Mayor Tiffany Henyard pulled a bold and controversial move. She held her own meeting back at Village Hall. It was a defiant statement, almost like she was trying to remind everyone that she was still the one in charge, running things her way, regardless of what anyone else thought. But, as you might expect, things didn't go as planned. What followed was enough to make anyone, want to hit the eject button. Only 2 trustees showed up to her impromptu gathering, which wasn't nearly enough to form a quorum for a legal meeting. Without a quorum, Henyard had no choice but to cancel her self-declared session. It was a major blow to her attempt to assert dominance. But Henyard wasn't about to back down. Determined to keep her presence known, she hopped in her car and drove straight to the Park District building, where the trustees were still holding their meeting without her. What happened next? Pure drama. Henyard barged into the meeting, disrupting the entire session and putting herself in the spotlight. What should have been an intense but orderly gathering quickly descended into chaos as her unexpected entrance stole all the attention. "Hello, hello," she declared, causing a stir among the trustees and attendees alike. Once again, Dalton's political drama was in full swing. The room, already charged with tension, erupted into confusion as Henyard took center stage, refusing to play by anyone else's rules. Her dramatic entrance underscored her leadership, style, disruption, and defiance. It left many in the room, and the entire community, wondering if Dalton's political chaos would ever come to an end. As the dust began to settle, the situation only worsened. The divide between Henyard and the trustees became even clearer, and the town's residents found themselves stuck in the middle of an escalating power struggle. To make matters even worse, a temporary restraining order had been issued against Henyard, preventing her from making certain appointments without the board's approval. This legal complication pushed her further away from the very government she was supposed to lead. When Henyard made her dramatic entrance, the tension in the room was palpable. An electric charge rippled through the crowd as residents visibly reacted to her surprise appearance. Many were clearly frustrated with her antics and leadership style, and their displeasure was unmistakable. Some even turned their backs on her as she entered, a silent but powerful gesture of disapproval that spoke volumes. Unfazed, Henyard stepped up to the microphone with an air of defiance, proclaiming, "I am the mayor of the village of Dalton," as if to reassert her authority in a room that clearly wasn't buying it. But before she could continue, her outburst was met with an overwhelming wave of resentment. The crowd's reaction only deepened the divide between her and the trustees, pushing her further away from the very people she was supposed to serve. Far from strengthening her position, this incident only widened the rift within Dalton's government, leaving the town on edge and questioning how this political drama would ultimately play out. The room erupted in a cacophony of boos and shouts, drowning out Mayor Henyard's attempt to assert control. The anger, frustration, and sheer exhaustion of the residents were palpable, and their reaction was swift and relentless. The uproar was a visceral response from a community that felt ignored, misled, and weighed down by the fallout of Henyard's controversial leadership. Her attempt to hijack the meeting only deepened the already volatile situation. As attendees openly challenged her presence and questioned her motives, it became painfully clear. They were done. What began as a standard trustees meeting devolved into an uncontrollable spectacle, with Henyard at the center, now a polarizing figure whose actions seemed to do nothing but widen the chasm between her and the very people she was supposed to represent. The room turned into a battlefield of words and gestures, underscoring the escalating frustrations of a community desperate for accountability and effective leadership. Henyard's dramatic entrance and the hostile reception from the crowd laid bare how deeply trust had eroded under her administration. As Dalton's political crisis deepened, it left everyone wondering, was there any way to mend the rift? Was reconciliation even possible at this point? Compounding her troubles was the temporary restraining order, which further weakened her position. It blocked her from making key appointments without board approval, a stark reminder that her grip on power was slipping. The tension in the room reached a boiling point as Henyard tried to speak over the chaos, demanding respect and declaring the meeting itself illegal. Her objective, she loudly proclaimed, was to make crucial appointments, including naming a new police chief. But her words fell on deaf ears, drowned by a chorus of boos and shouting. The crowd had made up its mind. They weren't listening anymore. The atmosphere grew unbearable as Henyard struggled to maintain control. The noise, frustration, and outright hostility overwhelmed her. After only 7 minutes, she was forced to leave, effectively booed out by the very people she was supposed to serve. What followed was a scene of pure pandemonium. Henyard, visibly enraged by the crowd's rejection, stormed out of the building. But the chaos didn't end there. Reports began circulating that she had allegedly gotten physical with one of the officials present. This only added fuel to the fire, escalating the situation to new heights. The police, stationed nearby in anticipation of trouble, quickly moved in to restore order. And then the unthinkable happened. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the self-proclaimed super mayor of Dalton, Illinois, was arrested. The arrest marked an extraordinary turn of events. One that stunned everyone in attendance. What had started as a high-stakes meeting with mounting tensions had ended in dramatic, real-world consequences. Residents watched in disbelief as Henyard, once a figure of power and defiance, was led away in handcuffs. Her desperate attempt to regain control of the narrative had been shattered by the overwhelming force of public dissent and her own reckless actions. The fallout from this incident sent shockwaves through the community. What was meant to be a routine town meeting had morphed into an unforgettable political spectacle. Henyard's leadership, built on defiance and dramatic gestures, crumbled under the weight of her own conduct. Once a leader with aspirations of power, she now found herself facing the harsh consequences of her own mistakes. This shocking episode in Dalton's history serves as a grim reminder of how quickly a leader's power can dissolve when trust evaporates, and political theatrics overshadow the responsibility of governance. The fallout is far from over, and the damage Henyard has caused to the town may never fully heal. The once prominent mayor's fall from grace is a stark illustration of the price leaders pay when their authority is built on spectacle rather than substance. And for Dalton, the question now remains, what comes next in the aftermath of this political drama? The live broadcast of the meeting being abruptly cut off was nothing short of dramatic, leaving everyone in Dalton stunned as they watched their mayor, Tiffany Henyard, being taken into custody. The image of a sitting mayor being dragged out of her own meeting in handcuffs seemed more like something straight out of a scripted drama. Yet it was very much reality. To fully grasp the magnitude of this arrest, it's crucial to step back and look at the larger context. This moment didn't happen overnight. It was the result of months, if not years, of mounting tension, chaos, and Henyard's consistent defiance. From the moment she assumed office, Henyard became a lightning rod for controversy. She constantly pushed boundaries, making decisions that left many residents scratching their heads. Her tenure was marked by a string of incidents that raised eyebrows and fueled frustration within the community. Henyard's disregard for established processes was perhaps most glaring in the case of her appointments. She unilaterally appointed a new village manager, attorney, and police chief, all without the board's approval. These were crucial decisions that should have been made through collaboration with the trustees, as local governance rules dictate. But Henyard ignored the legal framework entirely. Naturally, the trustees pushed back, and the issue ended up in court. A judge issued a restraining order, which clearly stated that Henyard could not make these appointments without the board's approval. However, Henyard's defiant nature meant she ignored the court's ruling, continuing her controversial actions. Without hesitation, Her reputation as a leader focused more on maintaining power than abiding by the law only grew from there, as her actions became increasingly erratic. At one point, there were even discussions about holding her in contempt of court for repeatedly defying the legal process. The fractures within Dalton's government deepened, and Henyard's focus on consolidating power alienated her from not only the trustees, but also the residents of Dalton. What began as a commitment to serve the community seemed to morph into a personal power grab, and the people were beginning to notice. Rumors of financial mismanagement only exacerbated the situation. Whispers about Henyard's misuse of public funds spread quickly, with reports pointing to lavish spending and taxpayer-funded trips with no clear purpose. Transparency was non-existent, and her actions increasingly painted a picture of a leader, more concerned with her own interests than those of the town she was elected to serve. As these rumors continued to swirl, Henyard remained defiant, framing herself as a victim of a corrupt system. She even used social media to rally her supporters, but this rhetoric only pushed away more people as the cracks in her narrative became undeniable. Her leadership style, characterized by bold moves and an aversion to traditional governance norms, soon created an even bigger divide with the trustees. The boiling point came when Henyard tried to hold a meeting without a quorum, and failed. Then she stormed into the trustees' meeting at the Park District building uninvited, creating chaos in an already tense room. Her refusal to follow the rules and her increasingly dramatic antics turned what should have been a professional meeting into a spectacle, further alienating both the board and the public. The final chapter in this chaotic saga came when Henyard's actions, compounded by public dissent, finally caught up with her. After a brief, failed attempt to dominate the meeting, she was physically removed from the room. But the chaos didn't end there. Reports surfaced that Henyard had allegedly gotten physical with one of the officials present, escalating the situation further. And, in an unprecedented turn of events, Henyard was arrested. The arrest, captured by the public and the media, marked the end of her reign in Dalton. Once seen as a fierce, self-declared super-mayor, Henyard found herself on the receiving end of the very public backlash she had fostered throughout her tenure. The fallout has been significant, with rumors of federal investigations into her alleged misuse of public funds and the increasing pressure from the state only adding fuel to the fire. As the FBI and local authorities continue to look into her spending, Henyard's grip on power continues to slip away. Despite her attempts to downplay the accusations and claim they were just attacks from her enemies, the evidence against her is mounting. Her past legal troubles, including a 2016 arrest for breaking into cars, have resurfaced, further damaging her reputation. Now, with her leadership under intense scrutiny, the question remains, is this the end for Tiffany Henyard's political career? With her power base dwindling, the trustees united against her, and legal challenges piling up, it's hard to see how she will recover. The public is losing patience, and Henyard's efforts to maintain control seem increasingly futile. Whether she can weather this storm remains uncertain, but one thing is clear. This political saga is far from over, and the residents of Dalton are watching closely to see what will happen next.